Mr. Terrific, Year 1, Issue 2, Al Letson writing with Valentine De Landro on the R. So Issue 1 was quite a surprise. We really liked Issue 1. And I think Issue 2 is still pretty good. It's very different to Issue 1. Most of it, I think, is still very good, though. My only real thing is maybe just the opening scene that's in the present day is the one part I'm like, I'm not really fussed about this. But once we get into the actual Year 1 story, I'm in. I'm locked in.
I enjoyed the Year 1 story so much that I forgot that it opened in present day and him dealing with the thing that's going on now.
Yeah.
With this weird rift, because everything else that had happened in the last issue, all the DeLandro art, that's the stuff that I'm here for. And so when I was like, what is going on? Why is there a Doomsday dog or a Darkseid dog? Never mind. Okay, we're back with the good art. So,
yeah. Yeah, so it's an Apocalypse Hound that came out of Darkseid's crack. We don't have to really question it. But no, so
dogs in the crack.
The whole thing from last issue where his best friend was killed and he ran off. It actually takes us to a very dark place where he's on a bridge. He's basically saying, you know what, after losing my wife who was pregnant, after losing my best friend like this, I don't want to be here anymore, and he's considering jumping. And the Spectre's shown up, kind of like the Angel from It's a Wonderful Life, to try and talk him out of this. And I thought that was an interesting path we went down. We also see the woman back at the company who owns it now, talking to Cormorant, who was supposed to kill everyone involved and is mad that the driver of the car got away. And they do note that for some reason their surveillance drones didn't see his face. It was like a supernatural blur or maybe a technological blur was interfering to avoid showing his identity. So that's something they're very concerned about. What's really interesting though is that after she's done chewing out this soldier, she starts getting attacked mentally by a voice who demands results, and she's like, please, please be patient, my king. This takes time. And I kind of got who it was before we got to the end of the issue, given the fact that I'm expecting it to connect to some of this present day stuff. But at the end of this page, she says Darkseid is. So this woman who now owns the company that Holt used to have, she is being puppeteered. She is being threatened and commanded. She is worshipping Darkseid, and she is doing what she is doing at the behest of Darkseid. So I think that's pretty cool, actually. I kind of like how we're fitting Darkseid into some of Mr. Terrific's origin. I think that's kind of neat.
And just, when we get him having the argument with the Spectre and him having the disagreement about gods and whatever, the fact that there's this new god that's kind of responsible for him becoming Mr. Terrific in a way, I think that's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Poetic. This guy that's just like, no. Yeah, poetic is what we're... Also, the Kirby crackles. I love DeLandro's art. And that's what gave it away to me, that it was Darkseid.
Yeah.
Are all the energy dots. And I was like, oh, okay. And that page looks really good with the lightning coming down and the way that it cuts across and how much pain she seems to be in. Right? It definitely makes Darkseid seem scary in a way that we haven't seen in a minute.
Oh, for sure. On that one tie-in book where he was very scary when Batman was on that other planet with Catwoman.
Yeah.
I remember what that was a tie-in to, cool. But whatever that was, he was very intimidating in that issue.
That made him feel like a force of nature.
Yeah. So yeah.
It was an absolute power tie-in.
So basically, much like It's a Wonderful Life to an extent, it's like, hey, let's look into your past. Obviously, It's a Wonderful Life shows him a world without him. This just sort of says, okay, let's look into your past and what pain is causing all this. So yeah, it talks about about Dre, who's his best friend, the fact that Jefferson Pierce ended up sort of becoming their friend when they were in sort of college age. It talks about getting married, and we kind of keep doing this stuff and there's some great art here actually, where when he doubts that the Spectre's real, because he keeps thinking the Spectre's just in his head, Spectre grows to kaiju size. And then when Jefferson, he doesn't even try to jump per se, but he picks Jefferson up with his fingers as if he's a bug from the back of his jacket. It's really good. And then you get a panel of him falling, or I say a panel, you see him falling between panels on the next page. It's the page where we're getting flashbacks to when he found out his wife was pregnant and she was working on this energy stuff. It reminded me a lot of the opening titles to Severance, for anyone who's watched that. There's a lot of Severance in the art here. The way he's falling through these memories is really cool. But it's interesting though, because he talks about how me and the wife were married to her work, and he didn't even know if he ever wanted kids, but now he had no choice. So he was actually in a kind of a weird place with it, and it kind of caused a bit of a rift between them. And then the big thing that caused the rift is that he tried to go back and finish the work she started on this project that he thought she'd lost interest in because of the pregnancy. But it turned out the reason why she stopped working on it is that she had solved it, and she realized just how powerful it was, and in the wrong hands it would be basically like a new atom bomb. So she's like, no, erase this work, don't figure it out, let it go. And he did like erase the work, except there was backup, so that when he sold the company, this engine that they're promoting that's like making people sick all over the slums is coming from this engine that was actually something that his wife had designed originally, and then he had kind of like reconfigured after the fact. So now on top of everything else, there's all this extra guilt. So he actually is feeling guilty about what's happening to people. He's feeling guilty about selling it to this woman, and on top of the fact that he's lost his best friend and his wife. And now that he has lost this child, he kind of wants the kid now, right? So he's going through all this turmoil, and I love the art and all this, all the flashbacks, which are very basically black and white with just a hint of yellow, and like the highlights just look really cool, really moody, lots of heavy inks and shadows. I love that there's that one panel or pair of panels when he's talking to the Spectre, and it's in color and shadows in one panel. And then the panel underneath when he's talking to the wife, he's in the exact same pose, so you can see his face in both styles, like back to back. Really nice.
They did that on the next page too, when he's looking out the window.
Yes.
And then he's talking about selling the company, and then he's sitting on the edge of the bridge with the Spectre. I like that too. There's just a continuity there.
Nice transitions, nice transitions. And then it gets into the interesting stuff here, where the Spectre basically is the one who suggests that he should become some kind of hero. And he brings up the original Mr. Terrific from way back in the GSA days. Just this guy who believed in fair play, who, was also going through problems and was convinced not to take his own life, and became Mr. Terrific. And like Holt kind of says, "Oh, I'm not a superhero. I'm just a guy." And like, because it's worth mentioning as well, this is not even the Spectre who's saying all this. The Spectre,
it's Jim Corrigan.
Yeah, turns into Jim Corrigan so that it's more of a human conversation. And Jim Corrigan basically speaks like, "Hey, this guy was my friend, and he became this, and he fought for the little guy. He fought for the people on the street, and it wasn't about fighting aliens." Because this was actually, because when they mentioned Jefferson earlier on,
Black Lightning,
right? I was like, "Wait, isn't that Jefferson?" And then I sort of forgot about it. And then there was a line here from Holt where it's like, "Oh, I actually know a superhero, and he's usually in space fighting aliens." And I'm like, "Oh wait, he's talking about Black Lightning. That's the superhero he knows." So I liked how those teases came together as the book went on. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah. Well, and I love too just the theme of him telling Spectres, like, "I don't believe in God. I don't believe in gods. Whatever you are, you're a figment of my imagination." And then even all the stuff that the Spectre's showing him, Holt's just like, "Yeah, none of this is real. I'm still going to do what I need to do." But it's not until the Spectre becomes his human form, that's who gets through, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very human story that this guy was also just a guy, but he didn't let that limit him. He wanted what was best for the smaller person. He wanted what was fair. And eventually that's what does it. And I really, again, talk about poetic. That's another piece that's just poetic. It's human-to-human interaction that gets Mr. Terrific to want to be larger than life.
Yeah, and then the next page is him going to the funeral of Dre, and there's drones from the company trying to look at everyone to see if they can see the driver, someone who matches the build. And the woman's like, "Wait, is that Michael Holt? Oh shit, we've got problems." And that just gets, so it kind of leaves that tease of like they're aware that he's in some way involved in this person, and that's probably something they're going to have to deal with. Probably because he's going to know what the devices they're using and like be able to do certain things. But Jefferson's at the funeral and tries to talk to Holt, and he doesn't want to do it. He's like, "This is not the time for this." And unfortunately, there's a Justice League call in the middle, so he has to go off and help, save the day somewhere. So, but he's like, "Hey, like if we find out who did this, like I'm bringing hell to them." But the final page is Mr. Terrific saying, "Not if I find them first." And he seems to have a pair of red shades and a simple jacket that says "Fair Play" in the back. So this is like his first attempt, the first prototype of his outfit here, as he's entering into the city where all the people are getting sick. And the building, of course,
just
the company.
Yeah, the Prescott Tower sitting there in the background over the purple and like pink of the sunset. Just the way that it does the color gradient down to him, who's black with red. He just stands out against all those other colors.
Yeah, I think what I like
it makes him feel like he is the smaller guy.
Yeah, and he's standing in a basketball court holding a basketball, and I think the point of this here is that earlier on it showed you kids playing on the court, and I feel like as well, just in general, whenever you're doing like the kids on the street in the city, it's always like the public basketball court, which is kind of the representation of like the little guy, and then you've got this tower like literally towering over it in the background. It's the perfect image of like, okay, he's been motivated, he's going to go and try and do something, and maybe not succeed this time because it's his first attempt at anything, but curious to see like how this progresses from here. But I was not expecting the Mr. Terrific Spectre It's a Wonderful Life thing to be what gets him going, but it's an interesting avenue to take, because it does kind of like cement his origin. It fits into the DCU in a way that, because like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, like all of their origins are all very independent of everything else, where if you've got just like a Batman movie, for example, where there's no other DC universe that exists, everything about Batman's origin is still there and intact, because it doesn't matter anything else in the universe. But with Mr. Terrific, you're like, oh, he already knows Black Lightning. He takes his name from an old superhero from like the old days. He gets inspired by Jim Corrigan / the Spectre to be motivated to actually take part in some of this. Like, and then the fact that the villain is being puppeteered by Darkseid. Like, everything about this is like got its fingers in the rest of the DCU, and I kind of like it in this case because it's so different to like all the bigger characters that are so independent of like the world and their origins. So I like that this is a character that's forged by the world around him, as opposed to, oh, he's like the special chosen one on his own kind of thing. Yeah, no, I like that too. Like, I didn't think of it like that, but that is like he chose himself. No one else put him on this path. He's doing it on his own. The Spectre kind of helped him along, right? But the Spectre didn't tell him, you're gonna, use your brains for all of this. But yeah, that was the other thing I liked too that got me oddly emotional, was that the reason he calls himself the third smartest man is because his wife was number 1 and 2. And that one, that hit right in the emotion, just right in the heart. Because there's always that question, well, who's 1 and 2, right? Yeah. It doesn't actually matter, because to him, his wife was everything. So she was 1 and 2. So I thought that was a real nice little tag that they added here. Yeah, and I love the colors in the book as well. The pastel color scheme that it's got going with the heavy inks. Just everything's got this nice moody drama feel to it. Just really, really good stuff. I mean, you get the little flashback panels in that 2-page layout to the original Mr. Terrific, and it's got the the dots and all that to give it the old school vibe. It's really nice. Yeah, just a really pleasant book all over. I do think I like the first issue just a little bit more, but it's not because this is a big step down or anything. It's just because ultimately that first issue is so focused and just like so one thing affects the next. This one's a bit more pulling in some different ideas altogether, but by the end I was really happy with everything that it did. So I'm excited to see what he does next issue. Like, what's his plan here on his first night trying to be a vigilante, or whatever you want to call him. So all right, what are you giving Mr. Terrific? He's gonna take some lumps. Yeah. I'm giving this an 8.5. Yeah, I think I agree with the 8.5. It's excellent.